And welcome everybody to the Broken Wing Racing League. This is the GT3 Championship, Season 3, Round 4, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. That's a hard one to say. The Canadian GP, everybody. On board with Miller Darajo as we are about to finish free practice, going into qualifying, 10-minute qualifying session brought to you by ANSE3D. And it should be a pretty exciting race. We got some pretty tight corners, a lot of walls, and so far in practice, everyone's trying to find the limit of their car, as there are definitely some limits that we're going to be seeing over exceeded. Definitely the Wall of Champions has been touched quite a few times, and through the S's after into turn 3 and 4, people have found themselves into the Wall of 4, just like George Russell just last week. And qualifying is good to go. It's all about who goes out first. And it looks to be Miller Darajo. Oh! Wanted to be the first out there. And that goes to Patrick Gannon, who is going to set the pace for qualifying, as he did take top step in practice. I think Trey Mistack may have overtaken him for the top spot, but practice has already come and gone. We'll see what happens here in qualifying. I think there's a very interesting stat here, is that we have a very good mix of BMWs and Porsches out there on track. I think we used to be a little bit more BMW dominated, but as it stands, there's not a lot of them that are on track that are in the BMW M4. We definitely have a few Mercedes and Lamborghinis, and only one Audi and one Ferrari. That is very interesting. It was interesting to see where Ricky Burrows in the Audi RALMS and Steve McAllister in the Ferrari 488 GT3. Let's see how they do. As we'll jump on board with Patrick Gannon. Through Virage he goes to turn 3 and 4. Let's see if he's able to keep this thing on track and not hit that curb right there too much. Touched the wall just a little bit, but a little French kiss never did anything wrong there. And coming up onto the hairpin, he is almost through his lap and into the casino straight. It'll be interesting to see if he actually hits the Wall of Champions. We're dealing with the champion himself. He hasn't actually won any of the championships here at Broken Wing Racing League, but he has been on the top step a couple times so far this season. It'll be interesting to see if he can't pull that off again. Last week, I believe he finished P, or a couple weeks ago, it was P second or third. Might have lost out on that on the very end, but didn't hit the wall. That's good news for him. And let's see where that puts him across the line. And it didn't put him across the line, as we have Matt Shack taking the top step right now with a 135.1. Aubrey Kundal with a 135.3. Colin Luckhurst comes across the line in P3. Oh, and just gets overtaken by Trey Mistack here for P1 with a 135 even. Matt Shack in P2, Aubrey P3, Miller DeRajo in P4, Colin Luckhurst in P5, Eddie Layton, Paolo Langer goes to P4, Eddie Layton to P7, Eric Rodriguez to P8, Steve McAllister, P10, Andrew Korostecki in P9, just getting him on that lap. We'll see if anyone else is going to be able to do a good push lap here as Joshua Grosso crosses line, does not set a time. Austin J. McGill is very close, hot on the heels of Andrew Korostecki. Craig Carroll crosses the line, and he goes to P9, overtaking Andrew Korostecki and Steve McAllister. And I'm really looking at somebody like Gary Schilling is into turn 3 as we go. And so it'll be a while before we see what his time is looking like. Patrick Gannon. That is the guy looking across to see if he can set a time on the board. Does he? He does. He goes P1 with a 134.3, setting the benchmark as a 7/10 gap forms between P1 and P2. And Gary Schilling, not set a time just yet, but he will be right behind Steve McAllister. And this driver will be very interesting to see what ends up happening here, is he has a very good set pace right now as Joey Jr. Paolo Langer goes across the line and takes P3. Joey Jr. goes to P5, the 135.3. And Gary Schilling, let's just jump on board. Joshua Grosso crosses the line, goes to P5. Really eats up the curbing there. I wonder if that's going to be detrimental to his time. And he is going to park it. And that does not set a time. That is unfortunate. I really thought he had something there. Kyle Granger goes to P14. Noah Hodgkinson in P11. And Trey Mistack still in P2. He's got to find something here. Not even sure where he's at on the track. He's at the end of the track, Sector 3. As the camera angles on this track are a little wonky, so getting a full picture is going to be a little different as nobody touches the wall of champions there. But Trey Mistack using the toe from Eric Rodriguez crossing the line, is that going to improve upon his time? It does, but not enough. He's still 4/10 off of Patrick Gannon. He's really going to have to make that up. Joey Jr. crosses the line, goes to P3. ANSE3D Racing, I would assume. Steve McAllister goes to P15, overtaking Andrew Korostecki for P16. And Aubrey Kundal in P7. 2/10 up on his Delta. See if he can't keep this momentum as he goes 3/10 up. Austin McGill into Virage. He goes up to P4 with that impressive run. He has a 135 even. And he has overtaken Paolo Langer, but Paolo Langer is a full second faster on this lap, full 1.2 seconds as he goes into the hairpin. He just has to maintain that momentum. He actually gets more out of that. Paolo Langer is up by 1.6 seconds off his Delta. This driver, if he keeps this up, will be on the top row for sure. Given the time that he has out there, he just has to nail this final couple corners here. And through he will go. Matt Shack overtakes him for P5, but Paolo Langer's on a Flyer, he's got 1.8 seconds faster. He's in P6, but crossing the line, he goes to P4. Wow, I really thought that was going to be way more than that, but P4 for Paulo Langer with a 134.8. That really just goes to show you the margins are so difficult when you get at the 1 through 5 right now. As Colin Luckhurst has just 2 corners to go to the start straight finish from P10. He's a full second up. Right now he's got a 135.5 on the board, but if he overtakes, he could definitely drop down at least 5 positions. Colin Luckhurst overtakes Paulo Langer for P4 with a 134.8, separated by a couple thousandths of a second. And Miller Darajo goes to P8. Aubrey Condal overtakes Austin McGill for P6. Trey Mistak across the line. Can he improve upon his time and ultimately take P1? He cannot. But actually, time has elapsed. I don't believe anyone has the opportunity to continue a lap, but we'll definitely see some drivers still out there. Maybe he can do something. Maybe Joey Jr. crossed the line before it struck past qualifying ending, but it still looks like he's out there trying. He's about 5 seconds positive on his delta, which means he's really got to curb that amount of time and then improve some time into sector 2 and 3. Go negative on his delta to really make this worth it. Joshua Grasso is 7/10 up on his time as he's about to go across the line. Let's see if that actually is an improvement for him. He's 6/10 up. And no improvement. And Tyler Anderson in P15. And he goes to P12. Ricky Burrows and Gary Schilling. Only 2 drivers to not set a time. And, you know, I really thought Gary Schilling had something going. His last lap was a 142.8. Couldn't count. Definitely track limit violation there. But he had the pace to definitely put something up there. I'd say in the top 10 for sure. But we are now just waiting for the race to start. And with 28.5 laps to go, we have about 1 minute left before the race starts. Once everybody on the grid stacks up, we still have several drivers not ready. But with 54 seconds, the results go. Patrick Gannon P1, Trey Mistak P2, Joey Jr. P3, Colin Luckhurst P4, Paulo Langer P5, Aubrey Kondo 6, Austin McGill 7, Matt Shack 8, Miller DeRajo 9, Joshua Grosso in 10, Eddie Layton in 11, Tyler Anderson 12, Noah Hodgkinson in 13, Eric Rodriguez in 14, Craig Carroll in 15, Al Granger in 16, Andrew Korstecki in 17, Steve McAllister in 18, Greg Schilling in 19, and Ricky Burrows in 20. 20 seconds left. And we're off to that rolling start. Trey Mistack trying to get that early lead here. But Patrick Gannon will take us up to speed. And we are off.
Green, green, green.
The green flag is out. Patrick Gannon is still out there in front as Trey Mistack now has to battle out Joey Jr. into that first corner. Into Virage they go. A couple too wide there, but they're still all battling it out. As we are clean through... I speak too soon, but it looks like one of those drivers is going to be taking a little hit there. That's Paolo Lanker. As he goes down, he jumps back onto the track. He just has to battle it out with Andrew Korstecki, who takes in the defensive line and makes it stick. He might have dropped down a couple positions, but Andrew Korstecki is defensive, and that is what you want to see. Gary Schilling there in the background, little braking maneuver that failed. Almost cost him. Oh, trip to the wall. Joey Jr. now in the lead over Patrick Gannon through the hairpin, but is that going to stick? He definitely keeps it ahead through the outside, but Patrick Gannon not fully alongside him anymore. And Joey Jr. goes for the defensive line down the casino straight. And there is not only a tenth between these drivers right now, as everyone is really just filing in one by one. Joey Jr. just creating a little bit of a gap there. And that would be a 2/10, 3/10 gap. And just picking a really odd line, not truly following Joey Jr. through that section right there. And it has been clean throughout so far. No drivers reporting incidents, that's for sure. I'm looking at the session events, and we have Max Shack who passed Colin Luckhurst for P4 there. And down goes Matt Shack into P4. And look at Colin Luckhurst on the outside there with that teal-white livery. And he is definitely going to have to fend off Aubrey Condal, as well as Austin McGill. A lot of these drivers right here trying to fight it out. There's... That Austin McGill in the Lamborghini here. And down goes Abercrombie on the outside with Colin Luckhurst here. Who's going to have the run? And it's definitely not Aubrey that time. And goes through catching Gannon. Overtaking Joey Jr. for P1. And we're just going to switch. We can get a good look at everything that's happening on track right now, as that was nowhere to be seen prior. Whoa! And there goes Joshua Grosso and Aubrey Kondo touching. Through the hairpin they went, and that brought him sideways, and Aubrey Kondo loses a couple positions to that. Eric Rodriguez goes through. Austin McGill goes through in the Lamborghini. Even though he was on the outside of that, he still was able to survive that little bit of an incident. So we now are on board with Eddie Layton, Joey Jr., who is in P2. Yeah, for a little bit. And Noah Hodgkinson with Eddie Layton battling for P10 and 11. With Andrew Korstecki just behind in car number 46. And they are getting awfully close. Just like last race, looks like the Noah Hodgkinson and Joshua Grosso are really working as a team. One's just a couple car lengths ahead of the other. Or cars ahead of the other. And maybe he'll make something happen there. As one of the drivers just went into the wall. And is this Trey Mistak's... Okay, maybe it's not his gambit there. As on board, we're switching the most exciting thing happening on track. And that looks to be Trey Mistak battling out Joey Jr. And you know what? We'll just pop on board and see how close this really feels. Joey Jr. and Trey Mistak are separated by about 3/10. As you can see on the relative to the far right there on the bottom of the screen, we're on lap 4, about to go be on lap 5. At the top of the screen, you can see the header for the standings. That LL is for last lap. Green means they are doing better than their previous lap, and gray means they haven't done better. And one driver, the driver right now who has the fastest lap, that would be Patrick Gannon. No, it would be Matt Shack. Matt Shack holds the fastest lap at the moment in time. And he is right behind Trey Mistak. Teammates, I might add. The, I forget. It's Stack Shack? Shack Stack? Team Shack Stack? It's one of the two. And Austin McGill making really good progress away from the battles behind. Joshua Grosso has gone through. Aubrey Condal is definitely thinking about making up some positions after being hit in the braking zone on that hairpin. And is he going to be able to go through on Andrew Korstecki as they give themselves plenty of space? We take that outside line. Definitely have good exit, and through stays Eric Rodriguez. Oh, is he sticking it up there? Right there, Audrey Condal goes in for the turn 13 and makes it stick before the wall of champions, but he does not have the defensive line going into turn 1. But is he going to be still ahead? It looks like he's still ahead. and able to maintain that position as he takes back P8 and hunts down Joshua Grasso for P7. Oh, and we have a driver off in the pits. That's unfortunate. And Trey Mistack separated by 4/10 still on Joey Jr. Gonna have to find his way around. It's BMW versus Lamborghini. It's gonna be interesting to see who actually really comes out on top. As they go into Casino Straight, you think that the Lamborghini would just have a little bit more straight line speed, but the BMW has been proven challenging the first 3 rounds at all variations of tracks. Austin McGill making quick work of Colin Luckhurst, taking P5. And you kind of wonder if that was a mistake that happened. Let's take a quick look. Maybe there's a mistake. And Colin Luckhurst goes in. Whoa! He was going awfully slow, almost like he maybe hit the wall. But a mistake was probably made there by Colin, as Trey Mistack now holds the fastest lap with a 134.8. He's really on the heels. Got Joey Jr. with the last of a 135.1. Trey Mistack with a 134.8. One thing that we said is, even though you're faster, you still gotta pass. That will be the interesting thing that happens here. We've seen people make moves down in the straight, Casino Straight, into turn 12 and 13. We've seen people making moves on turn 1. But where's Trey Mistack going to make a move? He's basically been in the same spot he started in. He was P2, dropped to P3, hasn't jumped back up. And where is he going to set his move, if he sets his move up? Or is he going to just hope that Joey Jr. has a minor miscalculation in his braking or in a turn, and definitely make the move then? As we have Paolo Langer overtaking Noah Hoskinson for P12. And it looks like already Paolo Langer's looking to set up a move on Andrew Gorstecki. He gets awfully close to those turns. A little bit of a toe, but who gets a better exit? And is he able to have some momentum going into that final corner? I don't think so. Not where he's at, standing on this particular spot on the track with 310 separating the drivers. Definitely got to be a little bit closer when he goes for that move. And it may just be that he's going to have to wait a couple more laps, gain some additional pace, doesn't look like he's closing the gap anymore, but just maintaining. He did do a last of a 136 even. Andrew Korostecki did a 136.3. But he's getting awfully close in some of these braking zones. But he really just has to keep sticking with the driver after that braking zone. And then that's where it looks like Andrew Korostecki is able to pull away just enough. And it should be noted that these drivers are, with the P stands for the Pro class. They are in a different class, so their race is slightly different from, say, somebody not in that category. Like Andrew Korostecki is sitting between two drivers that are in the Pro class, but he's maintaining himself in his own class between these two drivers. So Paolo Langer maybe a little hampered because he definitely has to get by this driver to really attack Eddie Layton, who's another driver in his class. But he's going to have to pass Andrew Korostecki first, and it doesn't look like that is an option available to him, as they have separated themselves by another 4/10 this last lap. And it could be said that Noah Hoskinson is actually closing the gap closer to Paolo than Paolo is to Andrew at this moment. And Patrick Gannon still leads with a comfortable margin of 1.4 seconds to Joey Jr. in P2 in that teal ANSE3D livery. And we're looking at Trey Mistack here in P3 with Matt Shack appearing in the background in that black Porsche in P4. Joey Jr. and Trey Mistack have been separated by 3/10 for quite a while. A number of laps. And still have not seen sorry about that. Have not seen Trey Mistack make a move just yet. Not even inch a nose into a place where his nose doesn't belong. Just been falling behind, diligently looking for a mistake, possibly. I mean, now more than ever, he's gotten closer, but still just taking it easy. Oh! As Joey Jr. hits a wall of champions, is this the moment that Trey needed as he tries to take the inside line into turn one? He's given some space, but it doesn't matter, though. Joey Jr. fights off with a good defense into turn two, which ultimately is what you need. Keep that position, but that looked like that was a really big hit to the right rear of Joey Jr.'s BMW. As we got a very good view of that from the cockpit of Trey Mistack. A little bit of rubbing from Trey Mistek onto that wall. And you can see that that's the livery plus damage, but one can say the livery looks like damage. That is a Van Gogh after all. And boy, was that close. It looked like Matt Shack had himself maybe a possible run. Whoa! As Joey Jr. goes into the pit lane, is he going to be the first to pull the trigger on a different decision making here, going into the pits early, topping off fuel and going to the end? Who knows? That goes Trey Mistek into P2 with Matt Shack into P3. And Austin McGill is going to overtake. And then here goes Joey Jr. He is lifted off the ground. Does he have to take tires? Does he have damage? Maybe it was just fuel. He is back out. He is in P12 right now. And Paolo Langer went into the pit lane, is in P13. Noah Hoskins 14. Steve McAllister goes across the line, overtaking a couple of drivers that are in the pit lane. Joey Jr.'s back out on track. He was P4, so we'll definitely... It would be interesting to see where he ends up after the shakeup. He is the first driver to make that mandatory pit stop, but he went from P2 to P12. That's a full 10 positions he's going to have to worry about as Miller DeRajo overtakes Noah Hoskinson. As Noah Hoskinson was exiting the pits, Paolo Langer also exiting the pits. Is Noah going to be held up here by Miller? And yes, he is. Is Noah going to go for that move? He does not. And on board with Noah Hoskinson, he's sitting P16, one of the drivers that's on his out lap, so he's got to really worry about these tires for the first lap. Back out there. And Miller not having a good run exit there, just hitting the curbing. There goes Noah Hoskinson just ahead of him, taking that position. But will he hold on to it on the outside of the hairpin? He's just going to have to find, oh, is he going to be able to cut back here? Gets a better exit, possibly. Miller retaking the position, but is he going to hold the position? Jumping back on board. He's definitely looking to go defensive here. A little bit of the hug in the road on both sides, but no, that's good defense. It wasn't reacting to the driver behind him. And there he goes. He hits the wall of champions. That's another driver that hit that wall. But not a good run for Noah there. He had to move out of the way of the driver, so he wasn't able to react to get a good exit with the mistake that Miller made there. So another driver we get to see hit that wall and keep the position, just like Joey Jr. a couple laps prior. Patrick Gannon still leading comfortably in P1 with Trey Mistek and Matt Shack just behind, P2 and 3. Doesn't look like Patrick Gannon's worried about going in early just yet. Neither is Matt Shack. Austin McGill holding P4 comfortably right now with Colin Luckers is actually 4/10 behind. And back on board with... Oh, let's jump back out over to Eddie Layton, who's sitting here in P9. Andrew Korstecki's just behind. And it looks like Eddie Layton is stuck between two drivers of Eric Rodriguez and Andrew Korstecki, who are teammates. And this is one of those instances where Eddie Layton is trying to battle Aubrey Condal and Joshua Grasso, the two Ps ahead of him in P6 and 7, the Pro class. But he's got the other class below of Eric Rodriguez and Andrew Korstecki, who are keeping pace and momentum. And he's got to pass them so he can actually battle the drivers that he's trying to face in his own championship, as the championship is split between the pros and AMs. Miller Durajo still holding position over Noah Hoskinson, as Noah Hoskinson did try to set up an overtake, and it did not work out. And now it was nice. Yeah, with only 4:10 separating these two drivers, it's clear that, wait, no, as Miller's staying out, don't know if Noah Hoskinson really benefited from this one, as he did go into pit early, but he's been stuck behind Miller. Whether he's got pace to go around him or not, he's definitely been thwarted by any chance that he's going to get from that early pit stop by having to battle out another driver like this. It really just hurts your chance to make your undercut work. I think just went straight over that curbing pretty aggressively. And back to Eddie Layton in P9, who's still sitting between an Eric and Andrew sandwich. And Austin McGill in P4 drops down. Joshua Grasso goes ahead. Colin Luckhurst goes ahead. And this is where it's going to get interesting. Joey Jr. was P2. He's now down the start straight finish. He's going to be passing some of these drivers who just went into the pit lane. Andrew Korstecki, Austin McGill, he's down into P10 at the moment. With all of the drivers ahead of him who have not stopped, Joey Jr. is really looking to make an undercut work against Patrick Gannon. Now, it's difficult to say. He was 1.4 seconds behind Patrick Gannon, so Patrick Gannon is really going to have to not only mess up several laps, but also mess up his pit stop significantly by that 1.4 second margin that allows Joey Jr. to get ahead as Patrick Gannon is exiting the pit lane. And it is possible he is going to make that work. Or if he was just trying to gain a breather room around Trey Mistack, Trey Mistack, who was just behind him by 0.3. That is the real gamble there, is that Trey Mistack is going for the overcut at the moment. He stayed out on track. He has not given up. And he's got to maintain that pace and just hope that Joey Jr. wasn't in a good position exiting the pits after his early pit stop. But from all we can see is Joey Jr.'s had nothing but a clear track ahead of him, as he is going to be passing driver after driver. And there's Patrick Gannon on the exit. Is he going to be able to take him into turn one? Patrick Gannon is just there, and he's out. And there is Trey Mistack and Matt Shack. They both get jumped. No, they don't. Matt Shack is ahead of Trey Mistack, and Joey Jr. drops down to P4. Oh, that is heartbreaking for Joey Jr., who was going for that undercut, and it did not pay out. These drivers are on their out lap. They got to worry about the tires a little bit, but that is unfortunate for Joey Jr., who set that up many laps ago and was hoping that that was going to be the deciding factor, but it wasn't. He's going to have to now pass him on raw pace as Matt Scheck is only is 2.3 seconds down on Patrick Gannon. So he, on the overcut, was not able to get a little bit closer to Patrick Gannon, but they all both went in the pit lane at the same time. So there's, yeah, definitely nothing was going to happen there as far as overcut or undercut. They went in with the leader, and they got to keep what they got there. And I'm surprised, but that Shaq was able to creep his pit stop a little bit quicker than Trey Mistax, his teammate. I mean, that's wild. The difference between the two cars might be the factor, but he definitely fueled less and was able to overtake Trey for P2. Joey Jr. hopefully can make something happen. He's only 1.1 seconds back from Trey Mistack as Aubrey Condal goes ahead to P7. Joshua Grosso and P6 with Colin Luckhurst just ahead. And Eddie Layton still feeling the just even more so as we go back on board with Eddie Layton. He can now see two drivers ahead of him by the name of Eric Rodriguez and Andrew Korostecki, who are both, before it was just a sandwich, but after the pit stops, he did not luck out and is now behind both of them. We didn't see him try to set up a move against Eric Rodriguez when he was close, but now he's going to have to pull back 1.7 seconds and start making some overtakes happening. Or hope for some bad luck. So we have Noah Hodgkinson and Craig Carroll battling out for P12 and 13. Joshua Grosso is only separated by 0.6 from Colin Luckhurst for P5. And last race we had, Joshua Grosso was probably one of our key candidates for overtakes that we got to see, and quite possibly we'll see it again. I'm curious where he actually started. On the results, Joshua Grosso started P10, so he's already made quite a few positions up. And it looks like he's trying to do it again as Colin Luckhurst is going slow. And Joshua Grosso just overtakes him. What is happening? Is his car straight? It looks like the wheel's straight. Going on a cockpit cam, he just let him by. Colin Luckhurst was P5 and just maybe he got a slowdown penalty, and that is what ended up happening there. But his car's straight enough. But there goes Joshua Grosso through with no competition to speak of. Just really put it ahead. And I wonder if it was just a slowdown penalty of some sort there. That is unfortunate if that would be the case. And back on board with Eddie Layton as we are looking at the right front suspension. And it looks like his car is in one piece on the right front. We've definitely seen some of these drivers get a little bit shaky on the wall of champions, but not this champion, Eddie Layton, sitting in P11. His car looks to be pristine, and he is looking at the back end of car number 46 of Andrew Korstecki, who also has a car that has yet to hit the wall of champions. And that is really what we're looking for, folks, is how clean of a driver can you be when touching some of the walls here at the Canadian GP? And look at that, Eddie Layton's getting a little bit more aggressive here as he really stomped on the power there. He turned 1 and 2. Can he get closer? He's only 0.6 off of Andrew Korstecki. The battle of the Merc versus the Porsche. Oh! And there goes Eddie Layton. And that was a quick dive to the left side. I'm kind of wondering what happened there for Andrew Korstecki. Maybe he just had to save it. He just went a little too deep in the corner. But there goes one driver, and I speak too soon, but did we get it? Yes, we did. Eddie Layton has just scrubbed the paint off of his right rear suspension as well as the front. You know, talking up a driver who's not touched the wall, and then all of a sudden he goes and touches a wall. But Eddie Layton goes by for P10. As we'll go back up and down the order here, we got Patrick Gannon in P1 with a 3.8 second gap. And just take a quick look at his right front suspension and his right rear. And it looks like he has a little bit of a damage to that right rear, but nothing to the right front, which is some good news there. He's only sticking it on that right rear into the corners, into the walls, I should say. As Matt Shack is sitting comfortably in P2 with a 2.2 second gap to Trey Mistack. And just take another look and see if this champion has hit the wall. Looks like there's a little bit of a scrub damage there on the right front and right rear. Looks to be just lighting. That is a clean car. Actually, I think it's completely clean. I don't think this driver has touched the wall at all. But you can kind of see how scary it gets when we're going into this final corner and he does not get close enough at all to that wall. And that's kind of what you want to see. In Trey Mistack, sitting P3 with a 2.1 second gap to Joey Jr. And popping on board with this driver's not made an error on the right front or right rear. From what it looks like, he's kept it clean. And definitely keeping it between the white lines there. And then popping on board Joey Jr., P4. Driver who the overcut worked aggressively against him, but he's still out there. He's got Joshua Grosso about 13 seconds behind him, which is pretty good news for him. Jumping on board with his BMW M4, and I do not see any damage. Popping off, as he's also not getting too close to that wall. Joshua Grosso's got a 2.5 second gap to Colin Luckhurst. Built that up after he got that that move done on Colin Luckhurst, who probably had a slowdown penalty. It just did not make any sense why he was going so slow in this section right here, actually. Popping on board, you see Joshua Grosso has a great right front and right rear, as he is not a driver who's hit that wall of champions or, you know, the one where George Russell hit. Quite a bummer for that driver. And Colin Luckhurst also been pretty clean throughout this race with a 1.6 second gap to Aubrey Kundal, who's still powering through. He did have a little bit of an incident at the beginning of the race, I believe, but it looks like he's recovered just fine. Also keeping it pretty well maintained. With Paulo Langer, a driver who really had an off moment at the start of the race, but has been able to pull back some positions. As we can see, he was P5 and he's now down to P8, but he did have to go off track, and maybe it was to avoid an incident, but he entered back on safely and battled it out with Andrew Korstecki, and Andrew Korstecki got his elbows out, but it looked like it paid off for both drivers as they able to keep position. For Andrew Korstecki, he didn't lose anything there. He was actually P16 at the time. He's now P11, and Powell Lanker was, P17. They both have jumped up tremendously. Looking back at it, though, it's a little bit of a scuff marks on these cars, but nothing too abhorrent. And Eric Rodriguez, will he also fit the bill for a driver with a clean right side? And it looks good. It looks like a little bit of paint wear, but nothing egregious, as we've seen on some drivers. Jumping back to Eddie Layton, Andrew Korstecki, also another clean-looking driver. He's sitting about 5.6 seconds ahead of Craig Carroll. Jumping on board with Craig Carroll. Also has got himself a decent right front and rear. I don't think we have any issues here for Craig Carroll. Oh, jump back down Noah Hodgkinson, who's about a 7.3 second gap to Craig Carroll. And 1.6 seconds to Tyler Anderson behind him. And also a very clean right side. I swear some of these drivers have hit the wall of champions. I think they are maybe out of this race at this point. No, there's one of them. Tyler Anderson has a scuffed up right front. And it looks like a little bit of a back too. It's getting awfully close. And Miller Darajo and P15. And it's definitely, you can see the margins there at the top. He has scuffed up that right rear a good amount. More difficult to see the BMW's flaws at such an angle of a camera. And then Steve McAllister in P16. Also looking fresh on that right rear and right front. Caffeine Global Motorsports, Steve McAllister. As we have just a few laps remaining on this race, looking back at the fastest lap still, I think goes to Matt Shack with a 134.9. Tyler Anderson might be able to claw a position from Noah Hoskinson, as they are only separated by 1.1 seconds. It was 1.6 seconds the last lap. Comfortably, Patrick Cannon still sitting in P1 with Matt Shack in P2 and Trey Mistack in P3. And Joey Jr. in P4. And that 1.1 second gap turned into 2.4, 6, 7? Are we looking at something mechanical happening? Yep. As Tyler Anderson struggles to keep his car on track. Had to go off a little bit. Matt not a fuel issue from the looks of it. And he's hitting the wall. That's definitely not going to help if he's got any other mechanical issues that he's working against here, but that was a possibility that he was going to get close with a 1.1 second gap. That's turned into 6 seconds. Back there in the background is Matt Shack in P2, who, between him and Patrick Gannon, I'm unsure of who's actually going to be ahead at the end of this race, but Patrick Gannon did win the first round, I believe, or is it the second round, and Matt Shack's won himself a round. Or two. We are on round 4. Patrick Gannon did not win the last round. It was down to P2 or 3. I think he's only won 1. This might put him with the 2 back on par with Matt Shack. Definitely a good battle for the top spot in the this season, season 3. They have now gotten the white flag, I believe. And just on board with Joshua Grosso so we can see that white flag, but doesn't exist. I think this is the last lap remaining for the drivers. And right where that Napa Autosports would be the flag bearer of sorts, but we do not get that option right now. As Miller Darajo and Steve McAllister are going to be the last couple drivers going across. They're going to have to go for another lap. As we have Patrick Gannon of Team Upstate. His teammate not here, Timothy Bray, going to cross the line and take P1. Where's he going again? I think he has to go again. And there you have it, folks. When you don't have the flag bearer, you get a little confused. No? Maybe... Yep, that's it. Patrick Gannon, P1. Matt Shack, P2. Trey Mistack, P3. Joey Jr., P4. Joshua Grosso is P5. Colin Luckhurst is P6. Aubrey Condal is P7. Paolo Langer crosses the line and he's P8. Eric Rodriguez is crossing the line. He goes P9. Eddie Layton crosses the line for a P10 finish. Overtook Andrew Korstecki for P10. So at that one moment when Andrew Korstecki went a little offline, it's unfortunate for him, but he goes P11. Craig Carroll crosses the line and he goes P12. Noah Hodgkinson just behind in P13. Tyler Anderson in P14 cross the line. And Miller Darajo still sticking it out there. He's going to finish up in P15 as he goes steadily towards the line. And he will finish with Steve McAllister, last of the drivers, going to P16. Austin McGill, P17. Kyle Granger, P18. Gary Schilling, P19. And Ricky Burrows in P20. Austin McGill had a really good run at it. It's just, must have had some incident that we didn't take a look at. And that really just thwarted his plans. Tune in next week on Sunday for the round 5 edition Broken Ring Racing League for the GT3 series. We also have a possible chance that this will become a split decision, a multi-class league with the GT3s mixing up with the LMDHs. It's still up for debate, but stay tuned to see if that actually happens. That would be really cool. I think that would be a great addition, as well as the GTP provisionally replacing the F4 on Tuesdays trial period. It's going to be GTP and the LMP3s on Tuesdays, same time. If you want to take a look at that, join the Discord, as well as thank you for watching this race brought to you by ANSE3D, and have a good evening.